I would say that's by far the best sled I've ridden to date.
I'm Levi LaValle, and welcome to my dream. I believe you can have anything in life if you just want it bad enough. Now grab your helmet and let's get to living. Howdy, howdy, howdy. I'm Levi LaValle, professional snowmobiler, and what's been on my mind lately has been MATRYK VR1. I rode it for the first time. I thought it was phenomenal, but on the first try I said, man, is it really this good, or is it just the hype of riding this new sled and riding in some good terrain and things like that? So I said, I have to test this up against the AXYS sleds that I've loved. The Indy XCR 129, SWITCHBACK XCR 136, and the Indy XC 137. So I had to put it up against those because those sleds have been some of my favorite sleds on the trail for different reasons. And I'm like, I need to see if this MATRYK really stacks up against that or if this is just hype. So I wanted to do a test back to back. And how I was going to do that test is I was going to go around, I was going to find these different areas, bumpy section, small bumps, big bumps. I was going to take it into some corners, some switchbacks, back and forth, kind of get an idea how stable the sled was. And then I wanted to see, just from riding, how it was moving around on the sled. Was it easy to move around? And, you know, with the new narrower gas tank area, console, and the angled side panels, do you really notice that? To do that test, I said, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ride each sled through the exact same section and then rate each one 1 to 10, 10 being best. And to do that, instead of having just my opinion, I said, let's bring in some other riders. The other riders that came with were outstanding. And the idea behind it was get some other opinions, some other riding levels, and just personal size, different shape people. So we had Bruce Gaspardi from out in Massachusetts, who is the owner of Southside Sports. Been involved in snowmobiling for many, many years, racing, all kinds of different things. Very knowledgeable in snowmobiles. We also had Nick Burgers, who's been a friend of mine, rode sleds with him since we were kids, and, you know, he's go pretty well down the trail, we'll say. And another rider that I've known for a long time, grew up riding with, was Ryan Hansen, who rides a little bit taller, and another great rider. And I thought he would be really good to have on this test session. And then the final one, Joe Duncan, who is the event organizer for snowmobile and snowbike at X Games, and used to race cross country, has been involved in racing and snowmobile projects, and, you know, has a very rich snowmobiling history. So I had Joe come with as well. And we went out, we did this test. And, you know, after each section, they would give me their insight, 1 to 10, what they thought, and that's what we're going to watch next.
The back took it good no matter if it was chopping the corner or not, or if it was smooth. It took it really good, kept it flat. Didn't seem to matter what was upsetting the vehicle. I'm aiming for the deepest stuff I can find to try to upset it. And just like I do with anything, and definitely, as I said, through the day, it handled it better no matter what.
Even with the AXYS, you know, they're very smooth. With the VR1, it's even smoother.
I thought it handled the small bumps awesome, and even the bigger bumps on the trail. I mean, the thing was, it just stayed so smooth and in control is what it felt like. It just felt like you never were upset. It was never bouncing around where you were out of control, and that was probably the nicest thing to keep. One, you know, it allowed me to go at a pretty good clip, and two, it just keeps you safer in case you meet anyone on the trail. You know, even if you get in the bumps, you've got control.
When you compare them, I mean, bumps are bumps, but the VR1 seemed to be just a little smoother, especially in the corners when there's bumps in the turns. It was just a little flatter than the AXYS chassis. Very stable in the corners. In comparison to the AXYS, I mean, it's just smoother going through the corners, into them, out of them. All around, just smoother, less bucking and pushing.
Well, I think no matter what trail we were on, it was flatter than everything else in the corners. The sled was easier to make it do what it was going to do for you and help you through the corner.
I was extremely impressed how stable it felt through all of it. It seems like with some of the other stuff you get a little more ski lift. With this, it seemed very stuck to the ground and did what you kind of wanted it to do.
Cornering, I mean, the thing is incredible in the corners. You know, it's so stable going into the turns and coming through the turns. You know, one of the things that, you know, I've had to do in the past being smaller is I really got to lean. I got to lean really hard on some of the other sleds. And you know, being on the MATRYK, it just really feels like the inside ski, like, hardly ever lifts. Unless you have like a bump or something that you hit, just one ski, it just feels so stable going through those turns. And that's where, you know, that was one of the biggest benefits for me, because I didn't have to lean as far left to right. And I think that made for, you know, less wasted energy and still being able to have a comfortable ride. Thing that I noticed going back and forth from you know, the XCR, Indy XCR, and you know, the 137 XC is, I noticed right away the different dash. I noticed the hood, I noticed the seat, I noticed those things because it was really easy to get into a corner position where you weren't, you didn't have to like swing your knee out and around
the dash like you do a little bit more on the AXYS chassis, which I never realized it after all these years of riding AXYS. I never realized it until I got on the new MATRYK platform. And I mean, it's just so easy to just kind of cup your knee around the edge, and also with the seat, you know, with it being, you know, narrower at the front, it allowed my leg to kind of shift over a little bit further, so my lean was just a lot more natural and a lot easier to do.
Well, the AXYS, you know, now we've been riding that for 5 years, and you kind of get used to how it is and where your knees are and what you can do and how much you got to drop a shoulder or slide a knee and what stops you. On this sled, as soon as you got on and you went into that first and second turn, when you dropped the shoulder and you slid your knee, it just kept going. So you just kept yourself, you know, you just were able to hang that much more if you wanted to, and kept it flatter even more.
I would say that's one of my favorite features of it, because my knees tend to get banged around a lot on the AXYS. And with this, it just seemed like you had more room for your knees. You didn't feel like you were quite spread out so far. Felt very comfortable.
I really like the AXYS, but the MATRYK is a little easier to move around on. There's more knee room to lean when you want to really get over on a, you know, a tighter turn. It is a lot easier to get farther forward on the machine and over farther due to the narrower seat and narrower front end in the knee room there. I want one.
You know, in my book, there is no doubt it was the #1 sled for trail riding and, you know, any of that stuff that we had with us, you know, including Indy XCR or any of the other ones. It really shined in all categories. The only one that we really didn't get to go on was I didn't get to go ditch banging with it. Just based off of, you know, what I felt, I would say that it, you know, it probably wouldn't hold up to what the XCRs can do, but it definitely was, it definitely makes up for that on the trail. So overall, I'm definitely getting me one of them.
I definitely think right out of the, and these obviously are just out of the box, didn't do anything to them. It was definitely set to go. I mean, take it for a ride, go ride, you not have to do anything.
I would say that's by far the best sled I've ridden to date, as far as handling, cornering, bumping, you know, all of that. It performs very well with everything we've been doing.
There you have it. The back-to-back test. We tested 650 VR1 MATRYK platform, tested that up against XCR Switchback, Indy XCR, XC137. But overall, I mean, the new sled just was incredible. It was just incredible to think that, first off, you know, how well that thing handled on the trail in comparison, going back to back. You know, I've said it before, this thing is like, I thought the AXYS was phenomenal. And to take this new MATRYK platform and put it on the trail, I'm not even kidding, like, you will be blown away how stable it is in the turns and just how comfortable it is even through the bumps. I mean, it's just a phenomenal sled out on the trails. And whether it's rough or it's smooth, it's just confidence inspiring. It's just so comfortable in all those conditions. The other thing with that, with the AXYS is, I mean, between the display, the brakes, the narrower, you know, that was the one thing that I really thought was how narrow the machine feels up by your knees compared to the AXYS. I mean, like, once I got on the AXYS back to back, it just felt like I had to like like I was doing the splits with my hips. I was just trying to reach to get my knee out and around. So it just made it so much easier to like maneuver left to right. And I like I've said before, I thought that AXYS was phenomenal. I didn't notice any of these things before, but once you have the new Matryx and you get to ride it, you just go, oh my goodness, why hasn't it been like this forever? Like, it's so good. So definitely a sled that that I was impressed with. And I you know, from top to bottom, trail riding stability, you know, the narrower seat and side panels to the engine, I mean, it just, everything just worked better. And it's hard to say that when you know how good that Indy XCR is and that 137 and the Switchback, knowing how good they are and putting it up against the new VR1, you just go, wow, this VR1, like, it's just better in all these different areas, or at least that's what we thought. But man, I'm like pumped for it. I'm really pumped for you guys to get out and try it. You know, if you get the chance to go out and test ride it or anything like that, definitely do it, because I promise you, you'll be blown away. You'll be blown away at how well it works. So anyway, thank you guys very much. If you have any questions about, you know, the VR1 or even the XCRs and the 137, any of the sleds that were in here, let us know. And also the 96 XCR 600 is an absolute hoot, and no, I'm not selling it. That is gonna stay in the fleet, I think, for the rest of my life, because it is so fun to take a step back and try some of that and then jump on this and go, things have come a long ways. So thank you guys very much. Comment below any questions you have. I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, thank you again. You guys take care.